The next topic covers a different kind of footprinting. That's WHOIS footprinting and DNS footprinting. Now, those two types of footprinting can give you information about an organization's network. What you may find is the domain name of the organization through their domain name registration, and this would give you information about their IP address space, possibly who the registrar is, a point of contact with the organization, sometimes even an address and phone number of the organization. But it can give you a lot of different information. Now, the WHOIS footprinting basically uses the registration information from things like the internet, where you would first buy a domain name, or from one of the other registrars. You would buy the domain name, you would register it for a given amount of time, pay your money, and then it's out there. Now, a lot of this information has typically been public and easily accessible, although recently we're starting to see ways that information can be kept private through the registrar themselves. DNS footprinting, on the other hand, is used to determine some similar information about the organization, like the name servers and other infrastructure type of information. So you'll get a lot of the same kinds of information from both of these sources, but it's good to use both and cross-check and make sure that you have the most current information and the most accurate information. So let's go ahead and take a look at WHOIS and DNS footprinting. I'm on the website domaintools.com, and I just arbitrarily picked this, but there are several different WHOIS search engines out there, and they all access the same WHOIS records. There are sites you just do a search on WHOIS lookup, and you'll find several of them, and you can use your favorite, whichever one you like. And I picked this particular one at random, and I'm just going to type in vtc.com and do a lookup on it just to see what I get. Now, WHOIS records are publicly available out there. There's no hacking into another system to get them. So let's see what information we can find on the virtual training company. We have our registrant, Keith Provost, and the address and so forth actually belongs to Network Solutions. That's their registrar who they bought the domain name from. And we see some information here that's interesting. We get the technical contacts, but they are at Network Solutions, at the registrant. Previously, some earlier WHOIS records basically had the phone number and address of the company itself versus the registrar. So you can see that they originally bought their record in 1993, and it expires currently in August of 2023. One thing you have to do is watch for the expiration on domain names, because there are a lot of people out there who will see that something's about to expire and buy it outright out from under a company. If they're not paying attention, they let it expire, it can be bought, and then they'll typically hold that domain name for ransom and want money in order to sell it back. Because once they expire, technically they're out there for anyone to buy and use. We also see that VTC lists its domain servers here, ns0.dnsmadeeasy.com, so that's who they use for their DNS service, and they have 5 DNS servers out there. So they're not hosting their own DNS. They've let a third party take care of that. So that actually would make it more difficult to hack an organization, as if you outsource some of your infrastructure and services to an organization that does that and is really good at doing it. In this case, they've outsourced their DNS here, so that DNS is not part of their infrastructure. We can tell that immediately. So we've gotten a little bit of information here. We've got the name of a point of contact at VTC. We know who their registrar is. We know where their name servers are. So the next thing we might want to do is do a DNS footprint on them. And for that, we could go to a place like dnsstuff.com, which is a very popular DNS search tool. So you might want to put in their name here, vtc.com again. Let's see if we can get any additional information on DNS footprinting. We may get some of the same information, and that's okay, because we can ensure that what we've got is accurate and up to date and hasn't changed. So this can actually serve to confirm what we already know, and it can also give us additional information. Okay, so our query finished running, and we have some results here. And what it does is it not only looks and gives us information about the organization, but it also tells us a few things about their DNS status here. We can see that we have the same DNS servers listed here, and we also now have the IP address range for those DNS servers. There could be information here from the querying them, from pinging them, or whatever. We scroll down, we can see it gives you a lot of information about different requirements for DNS that are good practices or best practices. Typically not necessarily security issues, but there may be some issues that a query will find that may affect performance here. So it gave us a warning for the SOA field check, the start of authority field check. We also got information on MX records, which are mail server records, so we conceivably could get the mail server IP address and host name. They have different mail server addresses here. Could be due to outsourcing. And one good thing, it says it's a fail, but it's a good thing, is connections to the mail server have failed. That means that you can't get to a mail server and do damage to it. So there were no connections allowed to that mail server, and that's good. So a lot of different information here that we can see. And you can run these queries on your own to practice with WHOIS and DNS, and I would highly recommend that you do that.